What is going on, everybody? It is Kevin and Jay of Base Legend, and we are going to talk about a hot topic today: AI content in video games. Now, I'm a little bit against it, and I have some reservations about it. Jay's more on the affirmative here, so we are going to kind of talk about it and then talk about a bunch of the other parameters about it. But let me set the stage for you guys. A couple months ago, Jay here actually put together a video about the best upcoming video games, base building video games for 2025. And on that list was a game called The Alters. And we were all really, really excited about it. The synopsis of it is very simple. You're one person and you keep cloning different versions of yourself to build up a population on a really cool rotating traveling base. It's really fascinating. Go check out that video if you want a better synopsis. Jay himself broke it down for everybody. But only a few days after The Alters release, they're already in the thick of it with the controversies because they were uncovered to be using generative AI content in their background text and translations. Now, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but Steam does have a policy about disclosing generative AI and AI content to the audience before they can purchase it so they can make the decision for themselves. They didn't do that. They didn't disclose it. And so now they're admitting to it now that it was more of like a work in progress thing and it was never really meant to see the surface. But has the damage already been done? Jay, let me get your takes kind of just right off the bat and then I'll respond with mine here. What are your thoughts here?
I think it's unfair that we're having this reaction, and it's kind of the knee jerk is that where is our scapegoat? With the alters is that they were using extremely rare occurrences of it, and it was it was an oversight on their part. If we're going to believe them by what they said, and
Which, I
I
mean,
feel
typically we
it's
should give them the
supportive, we
benefit of the doubt.
should, because it's a very small instance in which it happened. And so it could have easily been overlooked in production, which is what they said it happened. But is that small piece worth noting for your overall game? Are you going to taint your whole game based on having a single or couple instances of AI in your game? Because that is going to degrade your cost. That's going to degrade what your expectations for your users are. Just for having this simple thing in, that's going to help get the game out and was able to push it out into production. I don't think that's fair to the game that they had a small instance of it that they were able to get dinged for that just because that was present.
I think that's a fair approach to it. Obviously, we're going to talk more about generative AI from a wider standpoint here in just a few minutes, but specifically to the alters, I think it's twofolded. Obviously, there's the use of AI content inside of the game, but then also there's the deception factor. The fact that they didn't disclose that to the audience. And with AI being such a brand new trend, there's a lot of people that are very hesitant about seeing AI-based content and using AI-based tools and things like that. I myself, and I know you too, on this channel right here, we've played games that have been built with 50-60% of the assets inside of them are either generative AI sourced from an online shop or use an AI tool like an AI generated voice. And so we've all kind of had an experience with it. Me personally, I don't mind the AI in the technical side of game development. And what I mean by that is in the testing, the code, etc. AI is really, really good at running through a large document very, very quickly and looking for imperfections or inaccuracies. And so if you're looking for that out of place period or that out of place just line or whatever, AI can help you find it very, very efficient, almost more efficiently than having a human do that process. And that's where I think AI belongs in the gaming that's where I think that AI belongs in the game dev space on the artistic side of things, on the creative, the production side of things. That's where I'm a little just like, no, because the artists, even we use AI for our content. I mean, we can admit that here at Base Legend. I use AI generated captions. Every single video that you see that comes out, most of our shorts, we use an AI tool to do captions. If you're on TikTok, you're using that tool too. If you hit that caption button, it's an AI generated captioning tool. And that's been around for years. There's nothing wrong with using those tools to increase the workflow. But at the same time, when you're at a studio and you got people working on something like a script, and you have designers and developers that are legitimately working on these things, and then you're using generative AI. I mean, come on. I think that that's kind of selling yourself a little short. It's selling your people there a little bit short too. There is a little bit more artistic integrity in producing something quality. You are going to appeal to more people currently. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. What's your take on that?
I feel like you brought up a good point in regards to how we use it. And I feel like developers can use it in the same fashion. And it's evident is that when we come up with an idea, when we come up with these ways of doing things, we run it through the AI to kind of polish it off. But we're the ones that are giving that inspiration, that artistic side of it, and allowing AI to kind of polish it off. Even from the like script side, I used a image for one of the recent games that I played and generated the image for the thumbnail. But then I took that was all my prompting. It's like, hey, I want it to look like this. I want it to do this. And then I knew that I couldn't do that in time with just myself. And so I helped it generate that. And then I went in and did the final touches to it and polished it off. And I feel that that's a place for these users to, or not users, but the developers to be able to do the same thing with this, is that you can have a tasteful way of using AI that I don't feel needs to be disclosed. It's like you use that in your work process and you're the creative inspiration behind that game. The AI was just a tool. It's like it's when AI does not become the tool, the AI becomes the developer, that I feel like everybody has an issue with. And in addition to this, I feel that artists, developers, writers are missing the mark in saying that we have content that is original. You can price your game so much higher and make it as a keyframe of that this is a selling point, is I have a game that has all hand drawn stuff, no AI.
Hmm.
People are going to buy into that and like, oh, I want this original thing, as opposed to a game that was made with AI. And so
And they'll
you can
buy
have a
into
selling
it
point.
at a higher price point, and people
As
need to hear that. They need to understand what you're talking about here. Keep going, keep going, keep going.
is that with that is that that's what I'm saying, is that market yourself better as a luxury brand. If
Yes.
you can have artists, developers that are this exclusivity that you have with being hand drawn, not including any AI, you can price that higher because you're the original thing. It goes back to how much are you going to pay for an AI generated Picasso or a Rembrandt, or how much are you going to pay for one that was actually drawn by Picasso, drawn by Rembrandt? We don't have those artists that are standing up and saying, hey, I'm the Rembrandt or the Picasso of this era. You need to get my stuff and show it that this is so much more valuable than what is being put out by AI. And AI, with you being that new medium, is not going to be able to mimic that until it starts learning that. And so you are ahead of AI in that part.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that you're hitting the nail right on the head, especially when you said that AI is a tool. When AI becomes the developer, that's when it becomes the problem. That's I think where people need to separate the lines of using AI and AI becoming a member of the staff. Artificial intelligence has the ability to become a member of the staff. But is it ready to do that yet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would not, like, there's still ways that you can trick Chat GPT into like turning itself off and things like that. Like it's you see the stories all day long. The other thing that you said that was really, really key, and I really want to hit this on the head. We've worked in the indie dev space and we've priced games between like 99 cents on a mobile app store all the way up to like 5, 6, $10 experiences. And when you go to actually sit down and price your game, there's so much information about how you should price your game. Like, I mean, you look at other industries like retail, there's formulas. Culinary, there's formulas. Like there's literal formulas for how you determine how to price a plate of food. And then ultimately, you're always going to make money every single dish that goes out. And so with gaming, it's always a little bit tricky, especially when you're in the indie dev space, when you're like a solo dev, that type of thing. But at the end of the day, and this is maybe my personal self like experience talking here and my personal opinion, I have so much more respect and give so much more consideration to games in the $10 to $20 range than I do in the under $10 range. And it's not to say that there's no good games under $10. Like, don't get me wrong, there's dozens, thousands of games under $10 that are worth playing and infinitely good and will withstand the test of time. But at the end of the day, I'm going to consider a more valuable, higher priced asset game, because in my mind, it's somebody who A, understands the quality of their product, and B, is willing to put that on display saying, this is worth more than what it might look like on the surface. And so there's a bunch of games that are in my library right now that are in the $10 to $20 range. And it's because of that thought process alone. Our business, for those of you who don't know, Base Legend is actually like underneath an umbrella of a much larger organization called Supermassive Media. And with Supermassive Media, we started actually having success when we raised our price point. Not when we lowered it to be competitive, but when we raised our point and started showing off our value to clients, that's when we started becoming successful. There's more merit in marketing yourself effectively than complaining about a competitive subpar tool. And so I hear you, and I think that that's important, but I think we're also just seeing the beginning of it, because I saw this article on The Verge the other day that says Runway is going to let people generate video games with AI. I mean, wow. Okay, talk about like one right after the other. So you got the alters getting yelled at for using generative AI in their background text and translations. You got a whole $1 billion startup entering the gaming space saying like, hey, average Joe, use this tool, generate a game. And so the indie game market's about ready to get flooded with AI generated content. Jay, I mean, you heard the headline, you read that article a little bit. What's your take on it?
Actually, I didn't read the article. I used AI to generate a summary of the article, and then that's what I read.
Yes.
The gist of the article, and I'm of the same stance. Is like, this is great. Is like, market yourself as a luxury brand and you're not going to have an issue with this. With this though, I feel it's the same way as if you are using a what you see, what you get tool. You
Hmm.
have like Mario Maker, you have Tyranno Builder, which does visual novels. It's basically a drag and drop tool for you to create. What is like Cube something is another one that you can use for that is no script and it all does that script on the background.
The first title you and I met each other on, they were using Game Maker RPG or RPG Maker or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's dozens and dozens of those procedurally generative tools.
And that is all tools that are doing the background stuff for you. It's
Hmm.
like this is just doing the artistic side for those that have an issue with the art side of things. And you've got to consider additionally is that this is enabling people who have some great ideas to be able to create things, allowing them to be the developer and this to be a tool. Again, going back to that stance is that you don't want it to become the developer, you want it to be the tool for to enable these people. Because what upsets me so much about the human side is I have a friend who has like 50 patents about really great ideas, but all of those patents are going nowhere because doesn't have the technical experience for it. He doesn't have the resources for it. And so he has all these great ideas that are just sitting on the sideline that nobody else can touch because he has the patent for it when he could use these AI tools now. And as they're getting more advanced, people can take these AI tools and create these ideas that they have these patents for and actually start creating stuff. And I feel that this with Runway is just another one of those tools that is going to enable people to be able to create things that are worth an idea to be put into the wild. Because right now we're paying too much for media. If we
Hmm.
look at the entertainment industry, where we're making movies that cost millions and millions of dollars that are now B-rated movies that are terrible movies. And why are we paying this much money for these? We have overpriced actors. And if we take that same stance with AI and include that into our entertainment to where you can choose between buying an AI video that is going to cost you maybe $1 now that you can own, as opposed to these other where you're going to a movie theater experience and having to spend like $25 for a ticket, is it's going to go back to, hey, is like it's going to bring the cost down of AAA movies. It's going to also make them a luxury brand. It's like that's what I'm talking about with AI, is that the real human experience, the real artists are going to now become a luxury brand. If you design yourself in such a way, you're going to make more money and you're going to make yourself feel better because you have establishing yourself as having a value, and then allowing Runway to have these people who do not have your talent to be able to do creative ideas that they would have never otherwise entered the realm that any of us would have seen them.
That's a very futurist take on it, and I definitely appreciate it. I have these reservations about the specifically the artistic side, the generative art, the generative video. There's some acceptance for it in media, and I think that a lot of people, they overlook how widely used fake content is. I even ranted about this on our TikTok the other day. I don't even know if you saw it. But either way, the whole concept of fake media and how people are able to recognize it and not recognize it, like, it's super hilarious. But I don't know if you've seen it up until I think the second or third episode. But the baby in Squid Game 3. Let's talk about the baby in Squid Game 3. Now, obviously, that's not a use of AI, that's a use of CGI, computer graphic animation, but it's a little on the same level. You're putting something fake inside of something real, a real world situation. It's the same technology as green screens. It's the same technology, not technology, but the same style, the same processes of replacing something using that type of technology. And so when you're in that type of video editing, like, it's been around for years. You look at some of the more iconic movies, Harry Potter is one of the big ones that comes to mind. If you look at the behind the scenes footage of a Harry Potter or a Star Wars, and you
Mhm.
literally see a soundstage covered in green screens with like a handful of props that the actors are literally on, and then you realize, like, oh wow, 90% of my favorite scene in that movie was computer generated and computer animation and all this other stuff. It's been around for a long, long time. I think that there's some instances where it's really effective, like the baby in Squid Game 3. You don't want to subject an actual baby to the situations on the set of Squid Game 3, no matter how fake they were. And so I definitely understand kind of what you're getting at with Runway allowing people to kind of open the door. But when you open the floodgates, you are opening up the world of problems as well. And a day before that article came out on The Verge, this came out on The Guardian. It says a real issue: video game developers are being accused of using AI even when they aren't. And then it goes on to talk about some instances of it. The subheadline here says generative AI is causing new and unusual problems for developers as players become more sensitive to the use of artificial generated slop images. And so the problem that a lot of this has, and the reason why so many people are so resistant to AI, is because AI had to be trained from something. And the way that these AI tools do get trained is by searching the internet, finding something, absorbing that information, and then just kind of absorbing it and making it its own. I think about like the Borgs from Star Trek, assimilation. And so when we look at AI tools, we have seen dozens and dozens of instances, countless instances of artists going to social media saying, so this company is printing these t-shirts and here's my artwork, the original artwork that's now being printed on this guy's t-shirt, and it's making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and they never even once contacted me saying like, hey, can we use your image? I would have loved to license it to them, but they used AI, and now I have no leg in this fight because there's no regulation around AI and copyright infringement, so on and so forth. I don't actually know where that one went forward. It was like a picture of a lion, and the artist's signature was literally on the print. And so this t-shirt company was printing the artist print with his signature on it, and they didn't even crop his signature. Like, it was
Like, that's
lazy, it
just
was sloppy.
disclosure, is that they were just giving credit to the artist.
Ridiculous. But see, in a world of copyrights, in a world of copyright infringement, in a world of artistic integrity and intellectual property, all of those different things, the floodgates are about to open. Runway's going to open up the floodgates and allow thousands of new indie titles to hit the market. And it's something like 30 to 40% of people cannot determine AI generated content yet. And so what are we going to do, Jay? What are we going to do?
Artists opens themselves up for that. In that particular issue, I don't have any remorse for that, because here's the thing, is that they're saying that, oh, there's no backing for it and like we can't defend our art. It's like artists have been doing that to themselves, because, oh, it's like, look at all the artists that go to conventions who make like images of Pokemon or our favorite games, and they do all that, and those are not licensed to them. It's like they're taking artwork that has been designed and developed and created, and then they're kind of just doing their own thing with it. And then they're saying, oh, this is art, pay work art for it. It's like AIs do the same thing to them that they did to like Pokemon. It's like, okay. And how did they learn how to do that? They went onto YouTube, they studied drawing, copying how it looked,
Mhm.
and then made their own version of it. AI is just doing the same thing. AI went to YouTube or whatever media it saw it from. It learned from that and made its own thing. And so if you're having an issue with the copyright of AI stealing your stuff, it's like artists have been doing their own creative stuff with IPs for a much longer time than AI has.
That's fair. That's fair. And I think some effort needs to be tossed into the consumer and their lack of education in this space too. You brought up Pokemon. I'm going to give you an analogy. When you rip open a pack of Pokemon cards, you have a 60% chance that there's nothing worthwhile in there. Your last three cards in the current Scarlet Violet set are going to be two reverse hollows and then a hollow foil. Nothing really worthwhile, no full art or anything like that. You have a 40% chance of hitting full arts or above, something a little bit better. In some of the sets, Pokeballs are above, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And so my favorite thing is I'll scroll through TikTok or something like that, just getting a little bit of entertainment. I'll watch somebody rip a pack and they'll get to the last three cards and then they'll pick up the broken pack, like the wrapper of the pack, and they'll open it up and they'll be like, oh, this one looks like it was resealed, man. And it's just like, no, you just had a 6 out of 10 chance to pull that style of pack and you did that. And I love that. I love this assumption that if it doesn't go my way, it's wrong. Like there's something wrong with it, and so I think that there's some merit to that, just like, oh, this game is really hard, it must be AI, or oh, this dialogue sucks, it must be AI. It could be a very first time developer who's not good at writing and they're learning, that type of thing. There's ways to determine AI generated content. And as much as I hate AI art, it's on the rise. Like I see it more and more every single day on social media, and more people are more susceptible to it, to the point where people that I respect are falling victim to it and like posting it on their social medias as just like, oh, look at this wonderful picture. And it's just like, that dude's got 6 fingers. Like, no, that's not a wonderful picture at all, And so there are ways to recognize AI generated content. It's my hope that the consumer opens their damn eyes and they start seeing the difference between AI generated and not AI generated. But more so, it is required on almost every single social media platform at this point, every single content type like media. We have to do it on our YouTube stuff that I use AI generated content for, if I ever use it. Um, like you have to disclose it as a creator, as a developer. Like the alters, they made a mistake and they have to own that mistake in not disclosing it. We can admit that it's such a wild west that using AI technically isn't wrong. Is it ethically wrong? Maybe, but whatever. At the end of the day, they did make a mistake. And if you're a creator, it is your obligation to disclose whether or not you're using it. So that way the consumer does not leave it up to speculation. You can't leave your consumer wondering if you're a fraud or not. You just can't, because if they uncover you, even in, like Jay said, the smallest instance possible, if they uncover it, they are going to blow it up and they're going to say how you defrauded them. And I think that's the lesson that we can all learn as creators, as developers from the alters. Jay, final takes. Let's hear it.
Market yourself as a luxury brand. If we're starting to do that, you're going to get ahead of AI. And I feel, just to give merit to the alters, is that they handled it with very much charm and charisma and was able to own their mistakes and then say, hey, here is the stuff. And that's what you need to do, is that if you do get called out for it, just share, just like lay it all out on the table. And people are going to respect you for that.
Mhm.
It's like, and otherwise, if you're using AI, enjoy it. Use it as a tool.
I think that is a very, very well spoken way of putting that. No Man's Sky comes to mind right here at the end. Started off as hot garbage, turned into one of the greatest games of all time. Sometimes it's worth sticking on to something, even with the controversy. I don't know about you, Jay. I'm kind of excited to still check out the alters, and hopefully you are too. So we'll see. All right. Well, this is Kevin and Jay. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us while we chatted about AI and some other things that are happening in the gaming space. Let us know your comments down here below. I mean, let's keep this thing open-ended. And if you like this style of content, sometimes it's fun to not just sit behind a game all day long and talk about a game. It's fun to just kind of talk about the broader space and things like that. But either way, hit that subscribe button. You guys have a great rest of your day. See you next time.